You're listening to Inside Blitz with Levon Kirkland.
Hey, welcome back to the Inside Blitz with Levon Kirkland. I'm your co-host, David White, along with Mikey Football, and of course the man, the myth, the legend, Levon Kirkland. And so thank you so much to all of you tuning in today. Those that tuned in last week, it was the biggest podcast that we've done. Thousands of people have watched all of these podcasts.
Right.
We've gotten over an extra 1,000 already to date on the Danny Ford live from the hemp farm, which was unbelievable, fantastic. So thanks for helping us make a difference through football. Levon, what's going on with the South Carolina Football Hall of Fame? How are you doing today?
Well, today I'm doing very well. I like to tell everybody that, man, we got a new partnership, or we had this partnership for a while with the South Carolina Department of Commerce. We're so happy to have you aboard, and we are making a difference through football. And how, you ask, we make a difference? We educate, we empower, and we encourage our young students. And it is an amazing thing that we're doing with the South Carolina Football Hall of Fame. And you, my friends, and you and me can become members. We also can do sponsorships. If any companies out there want to do a sponsorship, donations, and become a member, it's going to change and make a big impact on our students. Mikey, what you got for us today?
Well, I love that pitch.
Thank you.
And we appreciate the South Carolina Department of Commerce for getting in on this.
Right.
And for all those who want to come and become a member and support this program with us, can go to scfootballhof.org and become a member right there.
That's right. So supporting the Bridge Builder program, specifically the Department of Commerce, we appreciate Bobby Hitt and, of course, Jay Blankenship bringing that to us. And we've got a great interview for you today. Coach Fisher DeBerry.
Yeah, homeboy. You're actually kind of not quite from Lamar, but from Sherrall, South Carolina.
Big metropolis.
Which, you know, you can run your 100 and be out of town.
Yeah, well.
Instead of your 40 like you can do at Lamar.
Well, I noticed that you guys were getting along like home week.
Of course, man. Of course. We got to know, well, we were in the same class, first and foremost. And we were on the bus, the Hall of Fame bus, the mobile bus. And, man, we had a great time, man. We got to know each other. And, you know, once I found out he was from Sherrall, man.
It was like lickety-split.
Oh, yeah,
Y'all
yeah,
like peas and carrots.
Oh, we're homies. We're homeboys.
Well, and Fisher has such a personality, a type of personality that you're drawn to. And he's so excitable when he talks. If you listen to his video for his induction, he just gets up there, he's just this little small guy, and all of a sudden, boom!
Bam.
Yeah.
He hits you right across the face, and you're like, okay, I'm listening to you.
And he's like 84 years old, right?
Yeah, I think he's like 81, I want to believe. 81.
I want some of whatever he's drinking.
I know he does not look any bit, he doesn't act any bit of 81, but
I need that.
He's amazing. Class of 2017, as you said, he was a classmate of yours in the South Carolina Football Hall of Fame. And most people would know him as the longtime coach of Air Force, where he was had an amazing tenure there. But Wofford grad, played baseball and football. We'll hear a little bit about that today in the interview. But great guy, and what he's doing with the Fisher DeBerry Foundation is fantastic for single-parent homes and kids that grew up in single-parent homes. And he's just a great supporter of ours, and we love him as well. And
absolutely.
Had an opportunity to go to some of his foundational things in the past, and what he does for football, for people in football, is amazing.
Well, you're absolutely right, Mike. And Fisher DeBerry, he was one of the coaches in the Medal of Honor Bowl.
Yep.
We had an opportunity to work with him there, obviously, as a Hall of Fame inductee. This guy has been successful at every level of the game, and one of the most successful. The members of the military, the service academies, they remember him, and he's really full of wisdom and energy and love, and I love the fact that he shared some of that with us. And so tune in here, we're coming up live. He's going to talk about who perhaps helped influence him, what his keys to success are, and several other things you're not going to want to miss. So stay tuned, stick around. We're the Inside Blitz with Levon Kirkland, and we'll be right back with Coach Fisher DeBerry.
Hey, this is Fisher DeBerry, and you're listening to the Inside Blitz with Levon Kirkland.
Hey, welcome back. We have the Wyatt Law Studio. You're here with the Inside Blitz with Levon Kirkland. And today we have a special guest, one of my buddies, one of the guys who actually came in the same class as I was, as a South Carolina Football Hall of Fame, Coach Fisher DeBerry. How you doing, sir?
Hey, Levon, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. So happy that you can be on with us.
It is an honor, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Okay, well, let's get into it, Coach. Coach, we did come in the same class. We met each other on a bus. I want you to share with the audience, what do you like so much about Levon Kirkland?
Well, he's from the lower part of the South Carolina, the PD where I'm from.
We're homeboys.
And I love to be around heroes, so you've always been my hero because of the kind of player you were, and certainly the role model that you were for young people in this state, Levon. I mean that very sincerely, and I know you and my son Joe, when he played baseball at Clemson, y'all were good friends. And
yes, sir.
So highly of you and your character, and again what you were doing for young people up there, and as a top college athlete, and that's so important today. I think that's just one way of giving back, you know, when you get into some of the positions that we've been so fortunate to be in.
Well, thank you, Coach. You're so nice. And your $20 is coming in the mail. Make sure you look out for it, okay?
I'll check it first thing in the morning.
All right. Well, I will wait, maybe till Friday. I'm going to look for it tomorrow.
I know why David doesn't pay very well. I know you do a lot for minimum wage.
It's quite all right. I love working for the South Carolina Football Hall of Fame. Okay. We're going to throw you another softball, Coach. A little question here. If you can instantly become an expert in something, what would it be?
Oh, gosh. I don't know. I think I don't ever know that you could ever be a perfect Christian, but I would certainly like to, to try a little bit harder and harder and harder. Made a lot more and more progress, but at the same time, I know that's humanly impossible. But I think if we keep the role model of the master coach foremost in our hearts and in our minds, that we could, somewhat get close, and maybe that would be appealing to him.
Amen. Amen. Love that answer, Coach. We're going to go back to your days in Sherrall. Can you tell us what it was like growing up in the mean streets of Sherrall, South Carolina?
Well, it's sort of like growing up in Lamar and Timothyville in that area over there where you're from.
Yeah.
Ain't a whole lot to do. Matter of fact, when Hurricane Hugo came through, it hit Sherrall pretty good, and it did $3 million worth of improvement in Sherrall.
Right.
$2 million worth of improvement.
And it's a great place to be from. I was telling a group the other night that it's an advantage, I think, to grow up in a small town, simply because I was telling this to a men's group at our church. It's because in a small town, everybody knows you, so you got to watch out what you do. And then the other thing is that when there's adversity, people care about you, and they come and they'll help. And I never forget one time we had a fire to break out in our bathroom. And it was just amazing to me as a little guy to see how fast people got there and got that fire out before it even got close to the house.
Wow. Well, yeah, I mean...
Now, a lot of people don't understand what I'm talking about. But, we had an outdoor privy, and we did have a two-seater down there. So upper echelon.
Well, Coach, I actually do know about that. My grandmother had a one-seater, so I definitely understand where you come from. But because we're homies, we can relate. Now, you were at Wofford. You were a two-star guy. You played football and baseball. But tell me now, honestly, which sport do you like the best?
Oh, I don't know. Whichever one's in season. Whenever I was in high school, I tried to play them all three and run track, but I wasn't very good in any of them. But whatever was in session, that's what I really enjoyed. But I don't know that I enjoyed one more than I did the other. But of course, it was football that got me back to Wofford College, as a coach. And why in the world Jim Brakeville hired me? I was coaching at McClanagan High School, there in Florence. And,
okay, yeah.
And what in the world he saw in me to get me to come back to coach for him at Wofford? But I'm glad he did. And of course, I was very close to Coach. He was the baseball coach also at Wofford when I was playing, and was the defensive coordinator. And we were reasonably close. And then when he became head coach, he had an opportunity had an opening on his staff, and called me one night and asked me about coming back. And so I went up there and visited with him, and told him I'd come. Coach Snyder was the athletic director at that time. He was the head coach when I was playing. But they got me in the back room and twisted my arm and said, "Now, Wofford's done a lot for you and given you a lot and helped you go to school. You need to give back." And so I left there, and I forgot to even ask him, what my salary was going to be. And that was the first thing my wife asked me when I got back home. And I said, she said, "How much are they going to pay you?" Because I was thinking about going with Dick Sheridan to Orangeburg as his defensive coordinator, and he was going to pay me a lot more than I was making at McClanagan. And I said, "Well, I didn't even ask." So I called back up there and I said, "Coach, how much you going to pay me?" And he said, and he told me, and I said, "My gosh, Coach, I'm making more than that at McClanagan High School right now." He said, "Don't worry about it. We'll make it up to you." Well,
right.
we won 9 that year, and the next year we won 12 before we lost one, and so we won 21 games in a row, and they made it up to me, but that was sort of the way we got it. So football has always been very, very, very important to me.
Well, I know about those backloaded contracts. You have to watch out for those.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially when you have a wife, you have to really watch out for those.
You better believe it.
Now, I mentioned
she handled all the money. I got no idea if I got any money in the bank right now or not.
That's the great thing about having a supportive wife. She can take care of all that. You just do all the coaching. But Coach, now let's talk about your Air Force years. You were there for 23 years, great success. Tell me what was so special about Air Force back then.
Well, it was the players, and we were blessed to be asked to go back under Kenny Hatfield. He wanted to change offenses and go the triple option, and not many people out west knew a whole lot about triple option. Everybody, Lavelle Edwards and everybody at BYU, they all throwing the ball, Utah, and everybody all over the country. And so, we sort of changed things a little bit. And first year we won 2, the next year we won 4, the next year we won 8, next year we won 10. And then Kenny had an opportunity to go back to Arkansas, his alma mater. He'd always said the only place he would leave the academy would be Missouri or Arkansas. And so they asked me if I would take the job, and kids really had endorsed me for the job, and so that's how we ended up being the coach. And so we were actually there at the academy for 27 years. But
wow.
We had a good thing going there when Kenny left, and we just wanted to be ourselves and continue to build on what we were doing, and the kids really believed in what we were doing, and they believed in the option, and so it was good for us, and so we continued to run that. But most importantly, we were so blessed with the coaches that we were able to get to come there. But still, I think it was the kids that were there, and the kids that we recruited, and an academy kid, it is a special kid. And they made it so enjoyable, and they just love the game, and we were very blessed to have some doggone good players, and some that won an Outland Trophy, some that played in the NFL, some that have excelled in the Air Force, and just made us all very, very, very proud.
Hey, Coach, this is Mike, and pleasure having you on. Always a pleasure to talk with you as well, anytime we have an opportunity. But you obviously had a ton of success at Air Force and as a coach. And you talked a little bit about how you got to Wofford and started coaching there. When did you know that you wanted to be a coach?
I guess it was when I was at Wofford, getting ready to go back for the season. You know, my high school coaches had really been so good to me, and I was a single parent kid, and was blessed to have a God-fearing mother and grandmother, and they, you know, saw I did things right. And but my coaches, I don't know where I'd be today if it hadn't been for my coaches, and I felt so blessed in high school and at Wofford. As a matter of fact, I've been asked by 3 families, for 3 of my coaches, to do the eulogy at their funerals, which I consider the greatest honor, you know, in the world. But I mean, they took a real interest, and so they asked me if I wouldn't help them out, you know, in coaching. You didn't have real big staffs at that time. They usually just 2 or 3 coaches, you know, and so they asked me if I would help them coach, you know, as I was trying to get in shape to go back to school, and then every year I did that for a couple of years, and every year I got ready to leave, they give me $50. I said, man, this coaching's pretty good. You know? I went back to Wofford and had $50 in my pocket, and didn't have any money to begin with, and they had resources from so many different directions, and so anyway, I thought coaching was pretty good. So I thought at one time I wanted to go to dental school, but I think I was trying to please my grandmother more for that than anything. But I did take a pre-med course until I got to organic chemistry, and I thought I'd put that off for a little while. got enough educational courses that I could, that psychology courses that I could coach. And so I coached the first year over at Dennisville High School, and that was our rival school when I was at Cheraw. And boy, everybody at Cheraw hated me for going to Dennisville, but we went over there, and we weren't very good, but had a lot of fun. And I knew that kids, were special. I knew that's what I wanted to do, and so went on into the Army and was there for 2 years, and did my graduate work at the University of Pittsburgh, and hung around the Steelers and hung around the Panthers there, and watched a lot of ball, a lot of high school, and stayed with the game. And the superintendent I had at Dennisville went to Florence, and he stayed in touch with me, and then Bob Bell was my coach, and one of my coaches, and he was in Spartanburg, and he asked me to come up there and coach with them. But Jim Wall was the guy that really, and I don't know, Levon, if you remember Jim or not, but he really was a Hall of Famer from down in Florence, and he, of course, had been a great player at Wofford, and so he asked me about being on the staff, and the superintendent had encouraged me so much about Florence, and so I decided to go there, and what a great experience that was. And I coached baseball, and we were very fortunate to have some pretty good baseball players, and had a real good run there at baseball also, you know. And then, of course, I was coaching still at McClanagan High School when Coach Brakefield, called me. And, of course, he would always come by the house and have dinner with us, so he'd always call me whenever he's coming through there recruiting, And so I guess that had a little something to do with it. But, it's the whole game is about players and, what you can do, for them. And they did a lot for me, the kids, and I hope that I made a difference in some lives everywhere I've been, but particularly at Air Force, because I was there so long. And the good thing about coaching is you get calls every day, and you get letters every day. I just had a former player from Minnesota to send me a picture of his son today, and his son is 6'7", 285.
Wow.
And he had some great things to say about his time at Air Force. And I said, well, if you'd ever been that big, we'd have won the national championship. He wasn't that big, but he sure got some good genes, I guess.
Right. No question about that.
Well, Coach, this is David Wyatt over here. I appreciate you being on the line with us, and obviously an honor to have you in our Hall of Fame. And, of course, you have a storied coaching career, been successful everywhere you've gone, and have been an inspiration to those I know sitting on this side of the microphone, so we appreciate that. I want to talk to you a little bit about the game of football. We, as you know, here at the South Carolina Football Hall of Fame are all about the leadership skills that this game teaches, that it's transferable to the business world, really teaches you a lot of leadership skills about success. And I know we've all been concerned about the safety in the game. There's been a lot of improvements made starting with helmets and concussion protocol and all of the things that they have put into place. And I think the game has become a lot safer. But I want to ask you that question. I mean, what are your concepts for the game? What do you think has been the progress to date and moving forward? What do you see?
Well, Dave, it's interesting that you'd ask that because I just spoke to a group the other night at our church, men's group, and I brought that out. And, I don't know of any game that teaches more about life than the game of football. And you get knocked down by guys, you can either stay down or you get up and fight, and everybody gets knocked down. But just the things that you have to do in preparation and how you have to overcome adversity and handle good and bad, but it just prepares you so much for life, and that's one reason why I felt really obligated to go there, and that's one reason I ended up staying at the academy, because I'll be honest with you, I felt what we were doing at the academy in preparing young men in football weekend and day in and day out was just as important as anything was going on, because the academy is a leadership training school, and that's what these kids were doing, learning to be the future leaders of our Air Force. And we've got kids today that are 4-star generals, 3-star generals that are in unbelievable positions in the Air Force. So many of them are flying, and now a lot of them are flying commercially and all. But, I just felt and what we were doing in football was enhancing their growth and their development as career officers in the Air Force, and that's why we were there. And so I felt it was a real challenge. I felt it was everything we needed to do and should do, and our coaches felt the same way and bought into it, was to relate football to becoming an Air Force officer. And so that's why I really felt that why I stayed there as long as I did. But I had so much respect for the quality of kids that we had, and felt that that they had a lot of pride in what we were trying to do and believed in what we were trying to do. And of course, most of our kids were not 4- and 5-star recruits in measurement at that time, but we had some doggone good football players that they just wanted to be prove to people that they could play football at the Division I level.
Oh, that's great, Coach. They might not have came in 5 stars, but after they was under you, they became 5 stars.
Well, you can say that, but I do think the game today, in contrast to all the things that you read and see written about football, the dangers of football, I think it's a misnomer, because I think the game is safer than it's ever been before.
Yes, sir.
For several reasons. I mean, the helmet, the research is going into that, the reconstruction and everything, the ability of the training staff now and their knowledge, medical science, what we know about concussions and things like that, and then the officiating itself and the emphasis that is in coaching about how to better tackle and how to be in better position. But the game, the way it's evolved itself, to where it's a wide open game, like Levon was saying, it was pretty close in game whenever he was playing.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe tougher. Now you gotta be able to run a little bit. You gotta be able to perform in open space, so to speak. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I think one of the best ways in the world today to develop a kid that wants to play high school football and wants to play college football is to let him play flag football till he gets to be about 13, 14 years old.
Amen. And
the reason I say that is because that's the way football is today. It's so wide open, and you got to make open field tackles, and you got to be able to run. You got to get people to miss you and that type of stuff. And it's an exciting game. It really is. I think the game is not that brunt force game and contact game. It's still a contact game. Don't get me wrong. Mm-hmm. But it's a game where the padding is so much better and the instruction is so much better and the people that are officiating the game are so much better. And I'll tell you, there are a lot of other sports today that are having a lot more serious injuries than high school football.
Right, yeah. Well, Coach, I can feel the passion in your voice when you talk about football. Now, tell me what you're passionate about at this point in time.
Well, my passion is being a good husband.
Okay. That's a good one.
Because my mother-in-law said the reason Luann and I we've been married 54 years.
Wow!
And
Congratulations.
Said, well, the reason that y'all have been married so long is you never were home for half the time. Well, that was probably true.
Coach Weiss said something similar to that.
Yeah, most coaches we talk to say the same thing about being in the way. Were you that guy that was in the way anytime you were home?
Well, I felt like that we did, a pretty good job with the kids we were entrusted to, and I think no finer compliment can be given to a college coach anywhere than for parents to, approve for them to come play for you. And then I think you just have an awesome responsibility to those guys, that you have recruited. And I just feel like that, today that football is such a wide open game, but it's safer, I think, today to play than it ever has been.
Okay, good. Well, quickly, can you tell us a little bit about your foundation? I really love your concept. Can you tell the audience about the Fisher DeBerry Foundation, please?
Well, this was something that I think I laid on my hearts back in 2002, 2003. As I was recruiting every year, and we had to recruit the whole United States because our kids, had to be appointed to the academy, and so we had to go all over the country in recruiting, and that was, fun but challenging. But then yet at the same time, we were, in the homes of such wonderful kids. But each year, it just seemed to be more and more and more single-parent kids that I was seeing. And in some instances, when you visit a home and you visit a kid that, there's 3 or 4 other kids in that home, and often they were living with mother. And statistics tell us today that over 45% of the kids in this country live in a single-parent home. Wow. And 60% of the kids in this country today do not have a male figure in their lives. And so I just felt like that, God laid on our hearts to start a foundation where we might benefit kids, single-parent kids, to have opportunities that they might not would otherwise be able to have, such as going to a summer FCA football camp, or going, taking music lessons, or having a medical issue, or an academic support system. We had a young girl one time, we paid her way to Chicago to single-parent. It was the only way she could get there. And she won that particular weekend when she was there. She won a full 4-year musical scholarship. And so, point I'm making is you give kids opportunities. You never know what might happen. And so, Luann and I feel like that, if we can just get kids to camp and they can be around the right people, they can improve their skills with the coaches they're there with. They can, compete against other kids. And most importantly, if they can learn something about leadership and about character development and integrity, and then certainly make a faith decision for their lives at that time. Because they're athletes, they can go back in their schools and just have a tremendous impact upon their teammates and upon their classmates. And I think we all know that schools are not the same that they used to be. There are a lot of things going on in schools today that kids need to be able to stand to and look in the eye and say no. And so what we try to do is send as many kids to summer camps as we can, particularly FCA camps, and we've sent as many as 700 in a summer. And this past summer we sent over 400 to summer camps, and we just feel like it has made a difference. We know it has, in the testimony that we've gotten from a lot of kids, and a lot of parents and coaches, that it's just had a tremendous impact and change in kids' life, and certainly an impact in their program. And of course, a lot of coaches today want to take their whole teams. And of course, then there are a lot of kids that can, maybe pay part of their way, but then there's a lot of kids that can't go. But just 2 years ago, I had a coach to write me and tell me, thank you so much for enabling these number on our team to go. And we took the whole team, and Coach, this has been the 3rd year we've been, and this past year, we never had anybody to steal anything in our football program.
Well, that's
I think
good.
we had a lot to do, and they'd gone from winning 5 games to 10 games to winning a state championship.
Wow.
So I think their experience had a lot to do. This was in North Carolina, but their experience had a lot to do with the experience they had that summer, and so we felt very blessed and fortunate that we could help them go. But we have, our Colorado Coaches Night for charity, North Carolina, South Carolina Coaches Night for charity, where the college coaches come in and they love what we're doing, and we pay them a good stipend for coming. But we raise money for the charity of their choice, and the people that are there can get the real inside look at the coach's heart, and interact with them personally, and we have some great fun and great auction items, and each coach brings one of his players, and it's just a fun night, and God has really blessed what we're trying to do. We raised significant funds to be able to to do those things.
Well, Coach, you are amazing.
He's making a difference through football, isn't he?
He's making a difference through football, but honestly, Coach, you're amazing. When I met you, I was drawn to you. Thank you so much for coming on our show. We really, really do appreciate it, and you've done so much to make a difference through football. We really appreciate it, Coach. Have a wonderful day today, okay?
We appreciate that, buddy. Good visiting with y'all. Appreciate what y'all are doing, and we'll get another great class this year, and they'll be very honored and humbled as I was.
Oh, Coach, thank you again. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Coach.
All right. Have a great night,
Thanks, Coach.
Take care.
See you later.
All right, bye.
Yes, sir. Wow, what a incredible interview, Coach Fisher DeBerry. I mean, making a difference through football. Mikey, you're right about that.
Good, and everything he does, which is it's like his passion is our mission, essentially. And so
one of your Hall of Fame classmates
One of my Hall of Fame classmates, and also, more importantly, he's a member of the South Carolina Football Hall of Fame. And we urge everybody to become a member so we can support our program, support this organization, and really make a difference through football.
That's great.
Take it from a college football Hall of Famer, coach of the year guy.
Yep.
A guy who is with one school for 23 years as a head coach, a couple years before that as an assistant, and also born here. Went to Wofford.
Main Streets. Well, he's a champion. I love him. I mean, from where I've been able to get to know him, he's very humble, extremely smart, funny. I mean, can crack you up. I remember at the induction ceremony, he jumped up there and was like, "Yeah, when you see a turnip sitting on a fence post, you know it didn't get up there by itself."
That's right.
And that's just a perfect example.
He has so much energy.
Great energy.
You may not realize it through the phone, but he's 81 years old.
Wow.
But you don't feel that when you meet him, when you hear him.
Well, we worked with him at the Medal of Honor Bowl.
Yeah.
And of course, he commands a great respect everywhere he goes, and it's fantastic. We hope that you have enjoyed this interview as much as we've enjoyed doing it. Thank you for supporting the South Carolina Football Hall of Fame and for listening today. And we'll be right back. You're listening to the Inside Blitz with Levon Kirkland.
You're listening to Inside Blitz with Levon Kirkland.
Hey, welcome back to the Inside Blitz with Levon Kirkland. What an awesome interview with Coach Fisher DeBerry. We appreciate him being on the show with us. We certainly appreciate our sponsors. Thanks to Spinks for making life easy for us.
There you go.
What a great week of football, and of course leadership. Coach DeBerry had a lot of lessons to teach about leadership. South Carolina has so many great leaders. He's someone we're proud of. And Levon, we're also proud of you, my friend.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that.
And I mean that. You are a leader, and you have I love this little episode that you've put together, the Inside Look, where you bring a little bit of that leadership to our listeners. So without further ado, I'm coming to you, Levon Kirkland, with the Inside Look.
Well, I'm sure that a lot of our listeners out there have heard this phrase before. In order to be the man, you got to beat the man. Now, what we want to talk about is, in order to be the best, you have to follow the best. When you're trying to be the best, there are a lot of models out there. So follow the best model. When I was trying to be a Pro Bowl player, guys I looked up to were guys like Greg Lloyd, Kevin Green, Rod Woodson, and DeMonte Dawson. Those guys gave me the model of how to be the very best. So what I'm telling you, and what is a great leadership thing, is that when you're following the best, it leaves a lot of clues. Success leaves a lot of clues. Be a detective.
That's pretty good stuff right there.
That's not bad.
I tell you what, be a detective. Now, talk about a little bit. You just named off 4 or 5 phenomenal players.
Yes.
How did you figure out how to model who the best was and how to go after that? How did you pick it?
Well, really what you do is you kind of look at their practice habits, kind of how they carry themselves. And one of the guys that I looked up to and who was a mentor, he didn't know he was a mentor, was Damani Dawson. He was our center, Hall of Fame center, and the way that he carried himself was so remarkable. Great work habits, great leadership. He wasn't a loud guy, but he led by example. And I was like, man, you know what? That's the guy I kind of want to follow. That's the kind of guy I want to be like. And he was a tremendous teammate, probably one of the nicest guys on the team. So I followed his model. And his model was, he was basically one of the best players out there. So I want to encourage everybody to find a great model and follow after it.
Hey, always walk in the path of your forefathers.
That's correct.
That's fantastic.
Right.
And, you've been a trailblazer yourself.
Well, thank you.
Of course, that enables you to do that. Mike, what we have on the football front? We had a pretty exciting weekend of football.
As last week the small schools took center stage, this week the bigger schools kind of came back on our radar big time this week, and of course we're following some players for the Blanchard Rogers Trophy.
This trophy right here.
That's
you
right.
Want it, we know it.
So I think that probably that first week in November you're going to see a finalist list for this.
Okay.
And right now we're kind of moving. We started with over 200 kids just outside the state, and then the ones inside.
Yep.
Well, now the list is about 40 to 50.
Wow.
So it's in the next couple of weeks, those guys are going to start refining themselves, and we'll probably end up with about 10 to 15 kids so that will be on that finalist list. So if you want to get on that list, now is the time to move.
Yeah, man.
Because there's still a couple more weeks to make an impact. But how about them Gamecocks, huh?
Yeah, man.
I mean,
they did a great job. Tremendous.
That win against Georgia, between the hedges, was remarkable. And Israel Mukwama.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, Israel, Izzy.
Yeah.
I think his Twitter handle is Izzy.
Okay.
It says Izzy.
Yeah,
11 tackles, 3 interceptions, 1 pick six. That's a pretty good day.
That's awesome.
And so, but also Javon Kinlaw, he's a kid that I've been watching for a little while. He had a great year last year. He doesn't get a lot of hype stats-wise because he's a defensive lineman, interior defensive lineman. But right now, he's considered one of the best interior defensive linemen in the country. He's probably going to be a Senior Bowl guy. He'll probably be a higher draft pick.
Right.
But he's from Charleston, and so he's a guy that we're Kinlaw. He has 5 sacks as an interior lineman so far this year.
Oh, that's great.
Through 6 games now. So that's pretty good for an interior defensive lineman. Also, Ernest Jones from South Carolina. He's a middle linebacker there. He's just a young kid, first year starter, but he leads the team in tackles right now for South Carolina. He led the team this week with 12 total tackles, but he's kind of balling too, and he's had a couple interceptions throughout the year as well. So he's really helped with that resurgence of that Gamecock defense. So I'm interested to see how these guys go forward, but right now they're standing out. That defense is playing very, very well right now for the Gamecocks.
Congratulations to the Carolina Gamecocks. That's the way to make the state proud there for sure.
And then one small school kid I'll point out that played this week, Brandon Rainey. He's the quarterback for the Citadel. He combined for 5 touchdowns this week.
Nice.
In a victory. Yep.
Wow.
And this is the second time in 3 weeks he's combined for 5 touchdowns between running and passing
in a single game.
So right now I think if I did my math right, he's got 19 total touchdowns between rushing and passing within the first 6 weeks of the season. So for a small school quarterback, rushing, passing, especially in the Citadel offense.
What's his name? Rainey?
Rainey, yep, Brandon Rainey. So
that sounded like me when I was in high school.
Right.
About 19 touchdowns.
Yeah. I mean,
Just kidding.
He's doing fantastic. He was out one game from injury, but he's been doing pretty good. I think it was 5 games.
Rolling with that Citadel Bulldog.
5 games, 19 touchdowns. That's almost 4 touchdowns a game that he's responsible for. You're going to be successful when your quarterback is averaging 4 touchdowns a game.
That's great. That's great. Blanchard Rogers update. Levon, what I know you.
What stood out to me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like my guy Mike Williams for the San Diego Chargers. I mean, I thought he did a really tremendous job last night. I saw one time where he caught like 3 in a row. This guy is definitely a player. It was a losing effort, though. But
he needs more balls.
He needs a lot more balls. But, I mean, the ones he got, he did something with it. So, Mike Williams is doing an outstanding job.
Yeah, we need to start that pro, South Carolina Players in the Pro award.
And Stephon Gilmore from the South Carolina side, Rock Hill.
Yep.
Right.
He is all-pro level right now.
He's probably the best cornerback that's playing right now.
With the New England Patriots. He is balling out.
Yes.
And
they got him from Chicago, right?
From the Bills.
From the Bills. That's
yeah,
like
from
Buffalo.
the Bills. But he may be one of the best defensive players in the league right now.
He's a great guy, too. He's giving back. I see him giving back in South Carolina.
And Rock Hill, great history there in football here in South Carolina.
We're doing it in South Carolina.
There's no Lamar, but...
Yeah, that's right.
There's no Lamar,
That's
man.
right.
That's
right. Yeah. That's right. So Stephon Gilmore, great job from the Gamecock side.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, there it goes. I tell you what, we had a lot more stuff we wanted to get into, but hey, the Willie Jeffries flag.
Can't argue with that.
Again, want to thank Evan Tripp, our valiant producer and director. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you to the listeners. We appreciate your support of this Inside Blitz with Levon Kirkland in the South Carolina Football Hall of Fame, making a difference through football. You're joining that legacy. You're part of our legacy, and so we thank you very much. So stay tuned for next week's show, and we'll be back with more Inside Blitz with Levon Kirkland.
You're listening to Inside Blitz with Levon Kirkland.